Picture a Halloween party. Someone carries in a punch bowl and sets it on the table. The drink inside is ordinary enough, but around the rim, thick white smoke is rolling over the edge and falling towards the floor, curling along the carpet, hugging the ground the way real fog never quite does. Nobody's pressing a button, there's no machine, just a small white lump sitting at the bottom of the bowl, doing something that looks like a magic trick. That lump is dry ice, and the name is exactly right in a way most people have never considered. It's dry because when it disappears, it leaves nothing behind. No puddle or residue. It simply stops being a solid. Why? What kind of ice vanishes into air instead of melting into water? The answer requires understanding what ice actually is and what dry ice is not. Let's get into it right here on Small Things. Why it behaves nothing like ice. The ice in your freezer is frozen water. When it warms up, it passes through 3 stages: solid, liquid, then gas. The puddle on the counter is the middle stage. Dry ice skips the middle stage entirely. Dry ice is frozen carbon dioxide, and carbon dioxide at normal atmospheric pressure cannot exist as a liquid. When a solid block of it warms up, the molecules gain enough energy to escape the solid directly without passing through liquid at all. Solid becomes gas. No puddle, no wet surface. Scientists call this sublimation. It's not a chemical reaction, but a physical one. Everything strange about dry ice, the smoke, the disappearing act, the burning cold that leaves no mark, follows from this single property. From a lab accident to a cold chain. It didn't begin as a product. It began as a surprise. In 1835, a French chemist named Adrien Jean-Pierre Thilorier was working with liquid carbon dioxide under high pressure in his Paris laboratory. When he opened the pressurized container, part of the liquid evaporated so violently that it sucked the heat out of the remainder and froze it on the spot. Thilorier found himself holding a lump of frozen gas that had never existed before in his hands in the middle of an ordinary working afternoon. It was the first piece of dry ice ever made, but it remained a scientific curiosity for decades. No one immediately saw a commercial application for a block of frozen gas that was colder than anything a kitchen freezer could produce, turned to vapor at room temperature, and had to be handled with thick gloves. What changed the calculation was industry. In the late 19th century and early 20th century, the production of beer, whiskey, and industrial fertilizer expanded enormously. All of these processes produced large quantities of carbon dioxide as a byproduct. The gas was being released into the atmosphere as an accepted waste product of commerce. Then someone noticed that it could be captured, liquefied under pressure, and stored until needed. In 1925, an American company trademarked the name dry ice and began selling it commercially. The first major customers were in the trucking industry. Beef, being hauled across long distances, needed refrigeration, and mechanical refrigeration was heavy, expensive, and unreliable on the road. Dry ice was light, cheap, required no electricity, and lasted long enough to cover the distance from a Chicago slaughterhouse to a market in another state. It required no maintenance, no fuel, and no mechanical knowledge to operate. A driver simply loaded it into the trailer, closed the doors, and drove. The same carbon dioxide that breweries and fertilizer plants had been releasing as a waste was now being sold as a refrigerant, an industrial byproduct that had become an industrial product. What Thilorier had stumbled upon by accident in a Paris laboratory 90 years earlier had found its purpose, not in science, but in a beef truck on a Midwestern highway. The cold chain that followed, the unbroken sequence of refrigerated transport from producer to consumer, depended on it for decades, and in many parts of the world still does. Pressure, snow, and a hydraulic press. So how's dry ice actually made? It begins with carbon dioxide that's already in use somewhere else. Industrial carbon dioxide is captured at the source, cleaned of impurities, and compressed into liquid form under pressure at temperatures below freezing. At those conditions, carbon dioxide behaves like a liquid and can be stored in large cryogenic tanks. The tanks hold the liquid under constant pressure, which is the only thing keeping it from turning back into gas. When dry ice production begins, the stored liquid is released into a chamber where the pressure drops suddenly. This rapid pressure drop has an immediate physical effect. Part of the liquid flashes into gas, and that vaporizing portion absorbs heat from the remaining so quickly that the rest freezes. The result is a fine, powdery substance that looks exactly like fresh snow and is extraordinarily cold. This is carbon dioxide snow, loose and light, which will vanish into the air within minutes if left undisturbed. The snow is not the finished product. It needs to be compacted. It is shoveled into rectangular metal molds, and a hydraulic press applies enormous force, compressing the loose powder into a dense solid block. The pressure forces the snowflakes to bond together into a material that's hard, cold, and glossy at the surface, with a thin mist forming around it from the moisture condensing out of the surrounding air. The block can be cut into whatever dimensions the customer requires. Alternatively, the snow is forced through a die fitted with small circular holes, extruding in long strands that are chopped into pellets. Smaller pellets go into insulated shipping boxes for food and medicine. Larger ones are used in a cleaning application that produces no liquid residue, no chemical trace, and no damage to the surface being cleaned. The pellet hits the surface, sublimes on contact, and the target material is left clean and completely dry. The manufacturing process is, in one sense, simply the reversal of sublimation, forcing a gas into a solid so it can be stored, transported, and put to work before it returns to being a gas. The fog is not what you think. The most widely held misunderstanding about dry ice is simple. Most people believe the white fog it produces is carbon dioxide. It's not. The carbon dioxide is invisible. Carbon dioxide gas is colorless and odorless. It disperses into the air on sublimation without any visible effect. What you see when dry ice produces its characteristic white fog is something happening to the air around it, not to the dry ice itself. When dry ice is in contact with air or water, the surface temperature of the surrounding material drops dramatically. Water vapor in the air, always present, condenses when it meets that cold zone. The white fog is condensed water vapor, the same process that produces clouds. It has nothing to do with the carbon dioxide, beyond the fact that the extreme cold is creating the temperature conditions that makes it visible. This is why the fog produced by dry ice hugs the ground. It's not the CO2 that's heavy, it's the cold, dense air mixed with water droplets sinking towards the floor because cold air is denser than the warm air above it. The CO2 itself drifts upward and away, invisibly. At that Halloween party, the fog rolling across the carpet is simply cold air being made visible by physics. What you see is the air reacting to an invisible event. The dry ice itself is already gone by the time the fog appears. What's vanishing is not what it looks like. When disappearing is the point. Today you'll find dry ice valued most precisely in situations where leaving nothing behind is not a side effect but the entire advantage. During the COVID-19 pandemic, the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine required storage at around minus 70 degrees Celsius from the moment it was manufactured until the moment of injection. No mechanical refrigerator used in ordinary distribution can reach that temperature. Dry ice sits at minus 78.5 degrees Celsius and maintains that temperature for days inside insulated packaging without electricity, without maintenance, and without any infrastructure beyond a box and a thermometer. Millions of vaccine doses crossed the United States and reached clinics in places with no sophisticated cold chain infrastructure entirely because dry ice could be shipped in a cardboard box. It vanished as it did its job, leaving the vaccine exactly as it needed to be and the packaging clean and dry. The same property makes dry ice a cleaning tool. In industrial dry ice blasting, pellets are accelerated through a nozzle by compressed air and fired at surfaces that need cleaning. On contact, the pellets sublimate instantly. The The rapid expansion of the gas knocks contaminants loose from the surface. The dry ice leaves no residue because it becomes gas. The surface is clean, dry, and chemically unaffected. Antique car restoration, food processing equipment, historical stone buildings, all of them are cleaned this way without solvents, without water damage, and without the surface being touched by anything that stays. A block of gas. So, how is dry ice made, and why does it disappear into air instead of melting into water? Carbon dioxide captured from industrial processes is liquefied under pressure, then released into a low-pressure chamber where it freezes into snow, then pressed into blocks by a hydraulic piston. The result sits at minus 78.5 degrees Celsius, colder than anything in a domestic freezer. Think about that punch bowl again. The white fog along the floor. Dry ice is not frozen water. It's frozen carbon dioxide, a block of gas so cold that it can preserve food, protect medicine, create ghostly fog, and then vanish without leaving a single drop behind. It looks like ice because it's solid and cold. It's not ice because it was never water. What you're watching when it disappears is a gas returning to itself. If this changed the way you think about the next time you see that white fog rolling across a floor, let us know in the comments what you want us to explore next. We might make it our next episode. Thanks for watching. History often hides in the smallest details.